Hi, I'm ponympth. Welcome to part 5. This is my version of the Warrior Cats Clan Generator Challenge. I'll link part 1 of my series and the original video by Nefali in the description. This episode is all about the queens. There's only 3, but I'm super excited about them. One of them is hairless. Cicelyclan up until now has all been short-haired, and Cormorantheart is when things started changing. There's not a lot of cats for this video, so it'll just be speed draws and character backstories. But I'm thrilled it's finally time for them, so let's get started. First up, we've got Egretleg. She's been mentioned as Heatherleg's co-mentor, and she's Cicelyclan's most experienced teacher. She's a short-haired white cat with yellow eyes. Her pupils are usually larger, giving her a deceptively cute appearance. She is sleek and fit, and is in excellent shape. She is patient with young cats, but can be short-tempered, especially with older cats. She prefers to have control over situations, and is a great planner, but struggles to collaborate with others. Despite her white coat, she's not part of the Sweetroot family. Her lineage is small and disjointed. Egretleg never felt attached to any of her dysfunctional family members, although this may be because of her mother, who was strongly against her relatives on both sides. Her mom accidentally became pregnant in a not great relationship. Egretkit's parents split while she was still in the nursery, and her mother remained distant from her family since. Egretkit was raised by a powerhouse of a queen. She was strong-willed, fiercely independent, fought for what she wanted, and Egretkit was taught to follow in her paw steps. She was raised to only rely on herself. Egretkit's mother kept an incredibly close eye on her throughout her life and wanted her to excel. When Egretkit became an apprentice, she didn't want others to see her fail, and she struggled to ask for help. She often didn't participate when learning something new, instead practicing hard on her own so that she could perform well later in class. She strived to outperform her classmates in all topics, and she didn't really make friends. She came off as showy and cocky, but she was hiding being insecure and anxious. She remained the strong, independent cat her mother taught her to be, and she grew up to be an incredibly strong, well-rounded warrior. Egretleg was sent out on whatever patrol the clan needed, having spent her time in training, making sure she could do pretty much any task. She didn't spend much time socializing, strictly sticking to duties and checking on her mother. After a few moons of this, her mother took her aside and confided in her some regrets that she had. Egretleg had grown up to be everything her mother wanted, following her to the letter, but it had cost her in ways her mother didn't expect. Egretleg's mother confided that she wished Egretleg had more friends. Egretleg wasn't sure what to do about this. She gave it her best shot and tried awkwardly to talk to other cats, but ended up just standing silently near them. She got an opening when a particularly chatty apprentice was made a warrior and joined some of her patrols. After a moon of this cat forcing Egretleg into conversations, she slowly got the hang of it. She wasn't by any means social, but she enjoyed the friendly chit-chat. It was a full year of this before she was made a mentor. She had no expectations of this and rejected the offer at first. She wanted to be directly contributing by getting her paws dirty. It's why she hadn't specialized in the first place. The deputy explained that this had accidentally made her the perfect mentor. She was good at a lot, and Cicelyclan already had a lot of cats doing what she was doing. She started shadowing other classes, and made her mark as an extremely capable teacher. She could roam between classes to hone certain skills, teach a class the basics, or even tutor. She gained respect from the other mentors for her skills. Egretleg started to become proud of her work, and accepted the offer to become a mentor. She started to bond with her fellow teachers, and she earned good friends. One of the mentors took a romantic interest in her, which caught her severely off guard. The Molly truly tried her best to sweep Egretleg off her paws, and Egret reluctantly fell to her charisma. If Egretleg strained for a grasp on friendship, she absolutely floundered in romance. She had no idea what she was doing. Her mate was kind, though, and pulled Egretleg out of her shell. They slowly hit it off, and Egretleg's mother was elated for them. The two were starting to settle down by the time the green cough wave swept in. Since they were both mentors, they stayed near camp, They wanted to help the young cats that had to stay in camp, either from the illness or being too young or inexperienced to quarantine on their own. The two tried to keep the tiny paws busy with light training while also keeping them as safe as they could. Egretleg became pregnant at this time, as her mate was trans. Because, well, she didn't make it. Both Egretleg's mate and her mother caught white cough. Her mate's progressing into green cough. After it was safe for who was left to return to camp, Egretleg gathered up what cats she could find. At this point, she's far enough in her pregnancy that she isn't allowed to leave the camp a whole lot. She still mentors the apprentices, it's just either in camp or close by. She has been tutoring Sandpaw on becoming a mentor and is trying to pass down as much knowledge as she can. She hopes he can graduate before she gives birth, so Heatherleg won't be on her own. Egretleg is currently 36 moons, or 3 years old. She is eagerly awaiting her litter, but it's bittersweet. She misses her mate. She half hopes that her kits will look like her lost love, but also fears the constant reminder of her. She is very responsible with her litter so far, going to Pipit Leaf for checkups and ensuring she's doing what she's supposed to do. She hopes for a healthy litter with no complications. Up next is another queen previously discussed, Daceleg's mate, Asphodelfoot. She's a short-haired, cream-spotted tabby with hazel eyes. She's shy but incredibly friendly, usually smiling. Asphodelkit was very exploratory, usually leading her siblings on small adventures. Her and her siblings could barely be contained by the nursery, her parents frequently hauling them back into the den. She was thrilled when she became an apprentice. Spending so much time outside of camp was incredible. She wanted to learn all about the land and loved when class would be held somewhere she hadn't been before. She wasn't outstanding in any particular area, but she kept pace with her class. Her favorite training sessions were with the other classes. She liked the friendly rivalry and was excited to get to know her other clanmates. She was disappointed when she had finally met all of the apprentices, but then it was just a game of remembering everything about them. Asphodelpaw could barely be contained by all of her energy, so it was concerning when she suddenly couldn't keep pace with the rest of class. She was taken to the leaf, and it was confirmed that she had white cough. She was one of the first in that season's wave, but she was healed up before everything started spiraling. Asphodelpaw hung by the tree line northeast of camp. She caught what she could, slept in trees, and although the adventure of the unknown was usually thrilling, this time it was different. She was scared if she would ever return to camp. It was taking so long before she saw another cat that she began to wonder if anyone was left, if she'd ever get to return home. When a cat came to bring her back to camp, most of those she knew were gone. She sat in the middle of camp and tried to take in all that had happened. She absently watched as cats returned, looking for others, and then doing just what she was, watching, adjusting, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Asphodelpaw couldn't see anyone she was close to. They were all gone, except Dacepaw. When he returned to camp and searched for who he knew, she was on his list. He was already crying before he got to her, but he broke down when their eyes met. Asphodelpaw knew he liked her, and she didn't want to be tied down to anyone before, but now all she wanted was something stable, someone she could rely on. Asphodelfoot never thought about having kids, so when Pipitleaf told her she was expecting, she was really scared. She never thought of herself as a mother, and she had no idea how Daceleg would react. She wanted to contribute as much as she could to the clan to get everything back to the way it was, but now she felt like she would just be using up what resources they had left. It took her a few days, but she eventually worked up the courage to tell Daceleg. She panicked a little when he looked shocked and started crying, but then she realized he was happy about it, thrilled even. Daceleg started being even more gentle with her, and Asphodelfoot felt like a star in his eyes. It eased her nerves. She's still absolutely terrified to be a mother, but seeing Daceleg so excited gives her some comfort. Asphodelfoot is currently 17 moons, or a little over 1 year old. She is scared now that things are changing again, but she's trying to stay calm. She's trying to think back to all the queens she knew before Greencough to think of how to be a mom, but she wasn't paying attention before. She's really worried. She was hoping Cormorantheart would give her some advice, since she's had so many litters, but she's grouchy and doesn't want to talk much. Asphodelfoot has been asking Pipitleaf small questions to try to get a read for what she should be doing, but even though Pipitleaf is comforting, Asphodelfoot still feels like she's doing something wrong. Last is the oldest cat in the nursery, Cormorantheart. She's a hairless black cat with hazel eyes. She tends to have nicks and scratches on her because of her lack of fur, and she's prone to illness. Cormorantheart is wise, but snappy. She's short-tempered, impatient, and graceful. She's respected for the knowledge she can bring to a situation, although it's hard for it to not be delivered with a snide remark. Cormorant Kit was born to Swanheart alongside Heather Kit. The two had a rough start, being born scrawny and having trouble feeding. They essentially grew up in the healer's den, away from the other cats. Swanheart, her father, and her older siblings doted on them, telling them stories about Cicelyclan and all the other kittens they'd get to meet as soon as they got better. Heather Kit was scared, but Cormorant Kit was done being sick. She wanted nothing more than to see for herself what these stories were about. She promised that when she became an apprentice, she'd fight to buy back all the stuff she missed out on being in the healer's den. Cormorant Paw made good on this promise. She charged forward in her training. Her mentors tried to ease her in, partially because of her potentially falling ill again, and partially because she was more likely to get hurt without her fur. Cormorant Paw made it as big of a challenge for them as she could. She was determined to be treated as an equal to her classmates. She was the first to volunteer, sometimes just charging forward without asking, diving headfirst into training. A particular classmate of hers took an interest in her strong attitude. He was obliviously optimistic, cheering on Cormorant Paw when she launched herself forward towards her goals. Cormorant thought he was annoying, but eventually realized that she kept watching him to check on him. She always looked at her classmates to gauge how well she was doing, but with him it was different. She just wanted to see how he was doing, not comparing herself to him. It intrigued her, and she stuck by him to try to figure out what she was feeling. Right before their naming ceremony, he gave her a kiss for good luck. This is when Cormorant Paw realized she had a crush on him. When Cormorant was given her warrior name, she was dubbed Cormorantheart for her drive to see others succeed. Cormorantheart hated this, but her mind was already buzzing from realizing she had a crush. She begrudgingly tried to test out his feelings, and he laughed as he said it was about time she caught on. The two hit it off, and Cormorantheart found herself in the nursery. She was incredibly nervous with her first litter, and released this on any cat nearby. Thankfully, Swanheart coached her on what to expect, and with her whole family's support, Cormorant had a healthy litter of 5. She stayed in the nursery 3 more times, finding her family growing practically by the moon. She was excited to have so many of her own kits around, keeping as close of an eye on them as she could. Wherever she went, she was close to family, and it offered her security. She was settling happily into her life. Her last litter was just about to receive their warrior names when Greencough hit. Cormorantheart tried to get all of her kits checked out, regardless of how old they were, but with so many cats in the clan, it was impossible to check every cat before it started spreading. Cormorant saw some of her kits starting to fall, and she tried to stay behind as her family began coughing, but Blackstar sent her to the west coast, as far away from the camp as possible to keep her safe. Her mate tried to keep her spirits up, visiting to bring her prey, flowers, and news of their kits, but eventually he told her that he believed he had caught the illness. They said their goodbyes, and he never came back. After this, Cormorant realized she was pregnant again. When Egretleg came with news that it was over, she was led directly to the nursery. Her mother, Heatherleg, and her daughter, Cinderstripe, were all that she had left. Cormorantheart is currently 48 moons, or 4 years old. She is very close to having her litter, and spends most of her time in the nursery. She knows it's expected of her to check on the other queens, but she's having a really hard time. She watches as Cicelyclan visits Asphodelfoot, and she only wishes that it were her mate instead. She clings closely to the family she has left, often needing at least one of them to be near the nursery without her worrying. She hopes her litter is healthy, but she worries about their future. And that's it. Let me know if you all would be interested in some speed draws without voiceovers. It would be quicker for me to release them, but harder to explain the characters. I want to put all the information of Cicelyclan on my toy house anyways, but I'm curious which you all would prefer. Let me know what you think. I'm also thinking of trying some other perchance generators after this series is done. This has been a lot of fun. There's some other cat-related perchance generators, dragon generators, lions, horses. I think it would be fun to explore all the different ones. Let me know if you've seen some other perchance challenges. Also, with October coming up, I've seen a few month-long drawing challenges for Tober. I definitely want to try these. If you're planning on participating in any, let me know. I'd love to hear what you all find. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Bye.